The drive up should have been the warning. Marcus had insisted on driving my RAV4, claiming he knew the back channels better than any GPS. For the last 2 hours, the scenery had dissolved from highway concrete into a tunnel of suffocating green pines that blocked out the sky. He hadn't spoken much. He just sat there, rigid as stone, hands locked at 10 and 2. Every time the signal died and the radio cut to static, he didn't change the station. He turned it up. "Cleans the palate, Eli," he'd muttered, staring unblinking at the winding road. I laughed it off then, thinking he was just being an artsy prick.
I wasn't laughing now.
The place smelled like a tomb that had been sealed for a decade. Stale pine, dust, and the sickly sweet rot of dead mice in the walls. I wanted to gag. But Marcus took a deep breath like he was inhaling pure oxygen. "Home sweet hellhole," he said, grinning that lopsided grin I'd seen 1,000 times. But there was a delay. A microsecond lag between his eyes seeing the room and his mouth forming the smile. It was so small, I thought I had imagined it. I should have turned around and walked back to the car right then. I'm an accountant. I deal in absolutes, debits, credits, things that balance. My friendship with Marcus was the only chaotic variable in my life. He was the drifter, the musician, the mess. I was the one who remembered where we parked and made sure the bills got paid. I knew him. I knew his tales. I knew how he fidgeted when he lied and how he got loud when he was insecure. The person in the cabin wasn't fidgeting. It started the next morning. I walked into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and found him sitting at the table. He was staring at an old Bakelite radio. The volume was cranked up, but it was just blasting static. Harsh, rhythmic, white noise. "Shh, what are you listening to?" I asked. He didn't jump. He didn't look guilty. He turned his head toward me, but his shoulders didn't move. It was a smooth, pivoting motion, like a security camera tracking a target. "Just the local news," he said. His voice was clear, too clear. Marcus mumbled in the mornings until he had had 2 cups of coffee. This voice was resonant, practiced. "Mark, that's static," I said, a cold prickle starting at the base of my neck. He smiled, but his eyes didn't participate. They were flat, reflecting the kitchen windows like glass beads. "Reception isn't tricky, Eli. You have to listen between the crackles." He clicked the radio off. The silence was visceral, a physical weight that made my ears pulse. It felt like the air in the room had suddenly become denser. All day the wrongness piled up. It was in the details. I watched him hold a coffee mug by gripping the rim with his palm, ignoring the handle. I watched him stand by the lake for 45 minutes without shifting his weight, perfectly still, like a mannequin left out in the yard. But I didn't panic until dinner. We were eating expired canned chili. It tastes like metallic mud. "Reminds me of that road trip to Santa Fe after graduation," Marcus said, chewing slowly. Remember? We broke down outside Amarillo, ate cold beans in the mechanic's lot while we waited for the tow truck?" I froze, my spoon hovering halfway to my mouth. My brain tried to reject what he just said. It tried to force the memory to fit, but it couldn't. Marcus? I said, my voice trembling. "We never went to Santa Fe. You went to Europe with your cousin that summer. I stayed home and worked at my dad's hardware store." The room went dead silent. The cicadas outside stopped chirping instantly, as if someone had cut their power. Marcus stared at me. He didn't look confused. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked buffering. His face was a blank slate. He didn't blink. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I was sitting across from my best friend of 20 years, and I suddenly realized I was sitting across from a stranger. Then snap! He blinked 3 times rapidly. A shudder went through his frame, and the Marcus mask slid back into place. "Right! Jesus, my brain is fried. I'm mixing us up with Sarah and Jenny. You're right. Europe. God, that hostel in Prague." He laughed and kept talking, but I couldn't hear him anymore. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. He hadn't just misremembered. He had recited a detailed textured lie with the confidence of a fact. He wasn't remembering. He was assessing a database and he had pulled the wrong file. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling beams, clutching my car keys in my sweaty hand. Around 2 a.m. I heard the whispering. It was coming from his room. It wasn't a phone call. It was a monologue. Rapid, monotone, devoid of emotion. I crept to the wall and pressed my ear against the plaster. Santa Fe narrative rejected. Error code 404. Delete. Realigning history. Subject Elias is showing heightened cortisol levels. Suspicion threshold at 80%. Pivot strategy. Focus shared trauma. The car accident in 2008. Yes. Strong anchor point. Increase empathetic facial mimicry by 15%. I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Realigning history. It wasn't him. It wasn't Marcus. It was something wearing him. It was an algorithm in a skin suit trying to learn how to be human, and it was using me as the test subject. I had to run. Now. I didn't pack. I just grabbed my keys and bolted for the front door. I needed to get to the car. I needed to get back to the city, to lights, to people. I threw the front door open and stopped dead. He was there. He was standing on the porch, facing the black void of the lake. He was naked. In the moonlight, his skin looked unfinished. It was gray and damp, like wet clay. And his back, God, his back, the spine was moving. It was rippling and shifting beneath the skin, like snakes writhing in a sack.
Going somewhere, Eli?
He didn't turn around. He didn't need to. The voice didn't come from his mouth. It vibrated in the air around me, buzzing in my teeth. It was Marcus's voice, but flat, dead, synthesized. I left something in my car, I whispered, stepping back. The thing on the porch began to turn, but its feet didn't move. Its legs stayed planted toward the lake. Its torso twisted at the waist, grinding around, the skin stretching and tearing with a wet schluck sound until it was facing me. The face was Marcus's face, but the eyes were gone. The sockets were sealed shut with smooth, unbroken skin. No lids, no lashes, just blank flesh where his eyes used to be. Your frequencies are very chaotic tonight, Elias, the mouthless face said. The sound boomed inside of my skull. We haven't finished resetting them yet. You need to listen between the crackles a little longer. It took a jerky, stilted step toward the door. Come back inside, it said. We have so many memories to correct.